Andrew's teaching some new material on expositional preaching, and we had a fun visitor at the church office the other day. That's what's today on the To Be the Church podcast. Welcome to the To Be the Church podcast, where we explore what it looks like to truly be the church in today's culture. Ben still sick. It hasn't been a week. We just are recording 2 episodes on the same day.
Boom.
So I assume he's better by now, by the time you listen to this. But Andrew, how you doing?
Good. I was quite sick, and I've gotten over it seemingly, kind of. But
Nice.
I think Ben might have got what I got.
Really?
Been going around, man. Bad sinus cold.
Wow. So by the time people listen to this, it'll have already happened. So this is not a commercial for it. But this morning, you were finishing up a teaching that you're going to give this Saturday. Once a quarter, we do NGC University. Again, not a commercial for it because it just happened. You don't show up this Saturday because it won't be happening. But we do once a quarter, just a Saturday morning of like growing in our faith and in our knowledge. And so there's all these different classes that are offered. Some pretty cool ones happening this time. I think we have 6 or 7 going on. But you're teaching a class, and it's called Handling the Word. Is that correct?
Handling the Word, yep.
Yep. And so what is it? Like, not what is Handling the Word, but like what's the class about? And then why did you feel like it was necessary or important to talk about?
Yeah, the class was about, and class is like part 1 of what I hope to be a many part series. I think I'll probably stay in this Handling the Word subject matter for future NGC universities. So, and it's pretty much, it's on preaching. Okay. Handling the Word is, term I'm using for preaching, like stewarding the responsibility of preaching. And so this first lesson is just a basic introduction to preaching, to biblical preaching, which I define as expositional preaching. I'm not the only one that does that, but I define preaching, and then define expositional preaching. And then I go through the 3 components of preaching, which are the agent, the content, the delivery, or you could say it, the preacher, the process, and then the execution. So I spend a little while on the preacher and kind of talk through that for those who feel the desire to preach or that impulse. I don't go in super detail. A future lesson will probably spend just on the preacher, and then I go into the process, which this is like from text to sermon. I'm given walking through a process that basically starts with like choose a text and ends with like, the delivery of the sermon, right? And so I go through, what is it, like nine real simple basic steps. And this is super introductory, but it's like for people that are wanting to learn how to preach expositionally, and then or just to even know how that works, right? And then the final one is the delivery, and I just give a few things on that and talk about what's at stake and those kind of deals. And then I'm looking at my content right now. I give like a 7-page bibliography for people to, if they want to start reading in the area. So so that's what it is. And dude, this is the first iteration of, I want to build on this and kind of in each subsequent segment of it, build out like all these principal aspects of it to full on lessons, right? So I don't know if this is a 12-part series, that this is just part 1, or if it's 10 parts or whatever, but I'm basically post-doctorate dissertation stuff in expositional preaching. I've had about a year almost to kind of clear my head, 9 months on that. And this was my first opportunity to like go back to everything I've been doing for 20 years and then studied through that whole doctoral experience and go, all right, I'm going to kind of develop, which again, I already have developed my own system and used it for years, but I'm going to develop a way to teach expositional preaching from my personal vantage point with all the stuff I've learned and practiced over the years, and kind of create my, I hope that it develops eventually into like a residency program that we could have here at Northwest Gospel, where we're training expositional preachers en masse. Is that the term? I was going to say in mass, but en masse. En masse.
I can see it. I don't know how to say it.
well, good. You won't sound as dumb as I just did. So yeah, that's an aggressive goal, obviously a future like residency program, but yeah, so it starts Saturday, which if you're listening to this 6 days ago, sorry you missed it. But yeah, so that's
So would this be kind of okay? So let's say some young minister comes to you and says, "Hey, I really want to get into expositional preaching." Like this is almost like, all right, this is what I'd start you with.
Totally. Yep. This is the initial kind of gateway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, who taught you this stuff?
Yeah, some of that goes to the bibliography. So yeah, like I said, in the bibliography, I have, I don't know, like probably 100+ books that are in there. And so some of those authors personally taught this stuff to me. Haddon Robinson, from Gordon Conwell back in 03 to 06, John Stott, who, didn't personally teach this to me, but was pretty big on campus there. Tony Merida was one of my professors in the doctoral stuff. Sidney Grananis, guys like Brian Chappell, who was one of my profs. Edmund Clowney, who I didn't learn it from him. Well, I learned it from him posthumously, but him and Tim Keller, are referenced there. Mark Dever, learned a ton from. Zach Eswine, have learned from him personally in the doctorate. And Walt Kaiser, who was the president of Gordon Conwell when I went there, he's in the bibliography. So Steve Mathewson, my doctoral mentor, is in there as well. Moeller, Piper, so that I'm just reading through some of these things. Spurgeon, he was dead by the time I was born, but he's definitely plays into this stuff. So yeah, some of those guys I've learned from directly and have utilized their books as well. Others are, I've got John Brodus, who died in 1895 or something, and John Calvin, who died many, many years before that. I start with William Perkins, who wrote his book, The Art of Prophesying, in 1592. That's like the beginning of the whole lesson. So that's the first Protestant preaching manual. So that some of those learn from all these guys personally, but some of them in person, others through their books. But then, at Gordon Conwell, when I went there from 03 to 06, did my MDiv. That was expositional preaching. That was Haddon Robinson's kind of final phase of his life and teaching. And he was actually living there on campus with his wife, and was the head of the biblical preaching department. And so, kind of that journey. That's now 21 years ago. That I'd say began there, but I actually sat under the ministry of a guy when I was in college at Evangel University in Springfield, Missouri, a guy, an Assemblies of God guy actually, who his name is John Lindell. And he at that time was really into expositional preaching, and still is, I believe, but eventually developed a college of expositional preaching out there at their church. And so I kind of learned, just like sat under that for 2 or 3 years. Then I got to Gordon Conwell, not realizing that was sort of what they were known for at that phase of things. And and then from there just have continued the study until what years was that? 2017 to 2023 was the doctorate at Western in expositional preaching, and so learned from the guys there as well. But yeah, so, and then a lot of this too, and really honestly, a lot of the like process of it is not even something I learned from those guys. It's something I worked out over 20 years of doing this literally every single week for my job. So yeah,
nice.
A lot of that's just worked out.
Yeah,
week to week.
So I didn't know if we'd have time to talk about this, but someone came to the office yesterday. I don't know the whole story, but it sounds like someone came kind of like asking for help, looking like they needed financial assistance, something like that. And then kind of after, I don't know, a while, handed us this card that essentially was like, some Bible verses about not neglecting to show hospitality to strangers. By doing so you've entertained angels unaware, for Hebrews 13. It just has some verses, and you turn it over and it says, I could have just as easily come here with the intention to bless you with a generous financial gift. However, I just first needed to see how the poor and needy are treated first, allowing me then in good conscience give to individuals and organizations who are doing as God commanded, as written in his word, when it comes to helping the poor and needy, which is from Deuteronomy 15. You shall not harden your heart or show your hand toward the poor brother or sister, but you shall open your hand to him or her. That's an addition, I think, and lend him or her sufficient for his or her need, whatever it may be. You shall give to him or her freely, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give to him. Therefore I command you, you shall open your wide your hand to your brother or sister, to the needy and to the poor for your land. Okay. So,
So wait, on the back, that's typed out on the back.
yeah, this is like a full-on typed card. So somebody who's like, I want to see how this church office handles somebody coming in asking for money or something.
Okay.
And then saw how it was handled, and then was like, boom, I could have given you money, and walked away.
Okay. So keep going.
Well, I was just I wasn't here. I'm this is giving me right before we started recording. It's like, you should talk about this. But I remember when I was in youth group. Again, this is a very different world than the world we live in today. But one Wednesday night for youth ministry, like a homeless guy just came and sat in the third row during youth group, and sat there the entire time.
Yeah.
Now, today, like that like for safety reasons, that wouldn't happen in any church. Like
In a youth
like
service,
a
yeah.
50-year-old homeless guy just comes and sits in the middle of a teenage gathering.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like that wouldn't be allowed. But like, I remember being there and being like, this is weird. Why is this guy in here? I don't know, like whatever, And then the youth pastor gets to his third point, which is like,
Was he a plant?
yes. It was a plant.
What
where
if
it was
God was one of us?
I don't remember the sermon, like the point. If it was, like how you treat the least of these, whatever. Like,
Sure.
like you guys didn't even talk to this guy.
Did the dude do the Mission Impossible thing where he tore his face off?
No.
It was like, your lead pastor.
It was a guy that went to our church that they like dressed up to look homeless and stuff
okay.
like that. It's
Yeah.
like and dirty and all that. I think he was actually at one point he was the kids pastor.
Okay.
I'm not making this up.
Okay.
But he wasn't by the time I think this happened. I don't think he was still the kids pastor.
Or at least after. Then it was not.
But yeah, I don't really have a conversation piece. I just thought the thing about your teaching would take longer.
Well, dude, here's the thing. Okay, so person walks in, and I'm just hearing about this now,
Yeah.
right? So person walks in and asks for something or something, and then like it really sounds like they like pick a fight with the wonderful people at the front desk trying to help them, and then they throw down this card that literally on the back it's typed out. I could have just as easily come here with the intention to bless you with a generous financial gift. However, I just first needed to see how the poor and needy are treated first, allowing me to then, in good conscience, give individuals, organizations who are doing what as God commanded, to help the needy or whatever. So you go, why did you come here? You came here to basically like with an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
The agenda was to walk in with a demeanor in such a way as to like get into conflict, right? A conflicting kind of demeanor, so that you could, drop down your trump card, your typed out trump card, and very nice, right? A little font on the front that has all these things, and then on the back, it tells us what your plot was, right? Your plot was to pick a fight, get into conflict, and then be able to pass this over. Boom, I just dropped Deuteronomy 15 on you. I could have been here to give you a bunch of money, but really I was here to show that you're horrible. So you just go, okay, great. Bless you. I just think it's really is a feat of self-righteousness that is a little scary. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I think people maybe not this blatant, like, but have built platforms on this type of work against the church.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I don't know. I've watched multiple people I know, people that I'm friends with, who have like lived a rather normal social media presence, and then they're really upset about something, they tweet about it, and it goes viral.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, in order to keep that level of engagement up, they have to like go find more of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then they just kind of keep doing it. And again, not the exact same scenario as this, but it reminds me of that, where
Yeah.
it's like, I got to go find that fight in order to, and somebody even said like they think that the person might have been filming when they were in here, like with their cell phone or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. And so it's, yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that, you know, if the person came in with pure motives, in the sense of like they were looking for help, and then say let's just say that whoever was going to help them was like, we don't help people like you know, which would never happen here. But like, let's just say that happened. You're laughing because you can just imagine the people that work at our.
I'm laughing because your voice.
Yeah. So somebody says that, and then if the person had said, I could have been here and given you a big financial gift, oh, you know, and then you go, oh, okay, that would have been different. But when they come in planning the whole deal, filming on their cell phone, seeming or whatever, it's like, all right, you're trying to get, it's like the age of outrage, right? You're trying to get an outrage viral moment for whatever, you know, in order to shame a church. And was it because of, this is a larger church building, and so seemingly a larger church, and so the stereotype, you know, that they were attacking or whatever. So yeah, we don't know. You and I, Tyler, don't know who the person was or anything. We just heard this kind of secondhand on a day I don't think either of us were here, but on site. But yeah, that's an interesting dynamic, man.
Yeah. Oh, there's another thought I had with it. Oh, so I've seen like videos before where it's like a homeless man on the street, and he's like, "Could I have $1?" And somebody's like, "Sure," and gives him $1, and they're like, and it's being filmed, and it's like, "Hey, thanks for being generous. Here's $1,000."
Oh,
like,
wow.
you know, it's like a YouTube thing, like that's obviously planted, and like that's like, and for that it's like, cool, like whatever, you know, like reward people for being generous. That's great, but like this idea and the thought that went through my mind is like, whoever showed up thinking that this was going to make us be like, oh my gosh, like doesn't know what we're here for.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care like what the generous financial gift was going to be. I mean, if there's one even, you know, but it's like, I don't think there's any world where it's like somebody tries to like get us or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, but we responded really well. And I'm like, oh, thank God for that $1,000 they gave us. You know, it's like, I don't like, it just seems like,
Yeah.
like now, if we were like just a standard nonprofit that like was like, oh, we have a budget we have to hit, and we have to this, and I'm like, well, we need to raise money, and we need money all the time, and like whatever, it might feel different. But like being a church where it's like, I don't know, you can tell me if you're wrong, or if I'm wrong, but I don't like want this person's money. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, we want the people who are a part of this church to give generously and have like you say it all the time, like giving is like regular, cheerful, and sacrificial.
Sure.
There's not an ounce of this that is cheerful.
But it fits the stereotype that's seemingly from the person's perspective, being that what they did here, in that a church is all about the money.
Yeah.
And they don't care about the poor or needy. And so I'm going to shame them by coming in, picking a fight, and then like dropping my trump card here. That's going to be like, I could have just as well get a big financial gift. And then we're going to be like, what, a big financial gift? What? Teach us the way, right? Teach me about Deuteronomy, you know? And it's just like, you know, that's not, that's the thing where it's like, no, that's not going to be the angle, because we don't fit, you know, and we don't fit the stereotype of whatever the person was wanting to prove here. And so it's a swing and a miss, but you know, I'd be remiss to not thank all those who do work and volunteer as a part of Northwest Gospel Church, and how they do handle issues like this with grace and working to be the church. And so, It's
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. The card says, this was your opportunity to honor God.
That was?
Yeah.
Oh, dang, man.
Yeah.
I've been looking for an opportunity to
screw
do
that up.
that.
All
Shoot.
right. All right. That's enough for today. We'll see you next week.